Located in the Sultan Ahmed neighborhood, Hagia Sophia is a former church and museum and now a mosque. It is one of the world's greatest archaeological works and accepted as the 8th wonder of the world. Entrance to Hagia Sophia is free of charge, so that's pretty good. Just don't forget to bring something to cover up here, so no tank tops and women should cover their hair. Hagia Sophia was first constructed in 325 for the Emperor Constantine to move the capital from the Roman Empire to Istanbul, back then called Constantinople. Hagia Sophia was rebuilt in 537 and was converted into a mosque by Fatih Sultan Mehmed after the conquest of Istanbul in 1453. It served as a museum since 1935 until they recently changed it back to a mosque. Located also in the Sultan Ahmed neighborhood, Topkapi Palace is a magnificent oriental palace and one of the world's richest museums. It was the residence of the Ottoman sultans from the 15th century to mid-19th century. It has 4 courtyard terraces with astonishing views as well as precious collections, making it one of the top tourist attractions in the city. Kadıköy is a laid-back residential neighborhood on Istanbul's Asian shore. It has a lively nightlife, especially along its famous Bar Street, and the nearby residential suburb of beautiful Moda is one of the most popular and colorful districts of Istanbul. In Kadıköy, you may experience and enjoy how the Istanbul locals live. I recommend for you to come here in the late afternoon, stroll around in the craziness, and then go to one of the places and just observe. Maybe have some raki and just enjoy the time with the locals. Taksim is one of the famous areas of Istanbul. You can stroll around the Taksim Square, watch the crowd, and then pass to Istiklal Street and enjoy the lively atmosphere, as it is one of the best things to do in Taksim. If you walk till the end of the long, colorful pedestrian street, you may get very close to the famous Galata Tower. Located just by the Taksim Square is the Gezi Park, and it's a beautiful park and the only intense green area of Taksim. You may take a good rest there by watching the liveliness of the city under the big trees and gardens. Now, the mentioned Istiklal Street is probably the most famous street and entertainment area in Istanbul. It is a long, colorful pedestrian street full of all kinds of shops, restaurants, cafes, and street shows. Now, the just mentioned Galata Tower is one of the most impressive and popular landmarks in Istanbul. Dating back to the 14th century, the tower is an old Genoese tower overlooking the beautiful Istanbul. Now, during the Ottoman period and the reign of Sultan Suleimani the Magnificent, the tower was used as a prison and afterwards as an accommodation place for the Ottoman military band and as a fire tower. Galata Tower also has this important story and event from the year 1638. Now, according to a renowned Ottoman historian and traveler, a man named Hesafen Ahmet Celebi managed to fly from the Galata Tower's top, so the European side, to the Uskutal side, which is the Asian side, with homemade artificial wings. And this flight is considered to be the first intercontinental flight in the world. Also, be aware, locals say that the person you go up there with for the first time is the one you will marry. So guys and girls, choose wisely. To experience Istanbul at its most magical, walk across the Galata Bridge at sunset. At this time, the historic Galata Tower is surrounded by shrieking seagulls, the mosques atop the 7 hills of the city are silhouetted against the soft red-pink sky, and the scent of apple tobacco wafts out of the cafes underneath the bridge. Now, underneath there are restaurants and cafes serving drinks and food all day and night. Now, come here to enjoy a beer while watching the ferries making their way to and from the Eminönü and Karaköy ferry docks. Now, I just wouldn't recommend to necessarily eat there. Why? Because it's quite touristy and I've heard Turks don't really go there to eat. The Blue Mosque is one of the most beautiful mosques and landmarks in both Istanbul and the world. The Blue Mosque was built in the 17th century by Sedefkar Mehmed Akbar with the order of Sultan Ahmed I. Now, its name comes from the very beautiful blue interior Iznik tiles, so from the very blue tiles, it's magnificent. And it was the only mosque with 6 minarets in the world. Now, located in the Sultan Ahmed neighborhood, right next to the Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque is a great sample of the Turkish and Islamic architecture and one of the most visited sites and mosques in Istanbul. You can visit this as well for free. Just be aware, there's some parts of the mosque that are used for prayers, and these places are closed for visitors during prayer time, not to disturb. You will also be probably contacted by several people around the mosque for guidance requests. Now, I recommend you not necessarily to pay attention to that because these are not certified guides. The Grand Bazaar is a over 550 years old covered market situated in Beyazıt, in the historical peninsula of Istanbul. It is also one of the largest and oldest covered markets in the world. Now, the Grand Bazaar is a popular point of interest and a perfect place to end your visit of Istanbul just by shopping for some souvenirs for family and friends before leaving to the airport. Now, it covers an area of 47,000 square miles, and the Istanbul Grand Bazaar consists of a series of covered streets. It's like a labyrinth. You can get lost in there. It features 64 streets, 4,000 shops, 22 entrances and 25,000 employees. Now, you are able to find about anything here in the Grand Bazaar, from the finest silk shawls and scarves in traditional patterns to traditional items. Dolmabahce Palace was the first European-style palace in Istanbul and was built by Sultan Abdülmecid between 1842 and 1853 at a cost of 5 million Ottoman gold pounds. That's the equivalent of 35 tons of gold. 14 tons of gold leaf was used to adorn the ceilings of the palace. At the center of the hall, the world's largest Bohemian crystal chandelier can be found, which was a gift by Queen Victoria. The chandelier has 750 lamps and weighs 4.5 tons. Now, the first president of Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, spent his last days in the palace before passing away in 1938, and his room is now a part of the museum. The Süleymaniye Mosque is an Ottoman imperial mosque located on the third hill of Istanbul. The mosque was commissioned by Suleiman the Magnificent and designed by the imperial architect Mimar Sinan. Now, this mosque has an amazing view over Istanbul, and I would not want to miss that while being there. Like, every time in Istanbul, I go to this mosque just to enjoy the view. Here's a bonus tip. The Basilica Cistern, one of the most impressive and mystical buildings in the city. It is the largest of many underground cisterns in Istanbul and was used to store water. Istanbul is a fantastic city, so I'm sure you're gonna have a great time, but make sure not to miss those other tips as well.